Thank you for coming to what is one of our several events celebrating our 40th anniversary, our next to last event. And today's event is called Latino Students on the Move, 40 Years of Struggle and Engagement. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do here. So my name is Amalia Payares, I'm director of the Latin American and Latino Studies program. And we've been commemorating our 40 years, not only because it's an anniversary, but because it marks 40 years since students mobilized in order to create this program, and then later to create Lattice, and then later to create the Cultural Center. And that's a tremendous legacy and responsibility. So it hasn't just been myself and faculty and staff in my program, but an anniversary committee that consists of different staff and faculty here at UAC and former staff and faculty who came together starting last summer to say, how can we really honor this legacy? And so we thought of a series of events. We already had one last week here that was precisely about what happened in the 70s, what students did in order to make all these things happen. But we decided that it wasn't really going to be enough to do that, that we didn't want to leave students just with that, like, now what? Like, oh, so that happened in the 70s. What did we do, or what can we do? Because we know that there has been activism, Latino student activism, since, consistently, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, and today. So we wanted to kind of have an event where we discussed, where we did an overview of what that activism was and invited the right people who were around at that time to tell us what were Latino students doing in these different time periods in order to not only honor it, but learn from it. So it's a combination event where the first half of our program, people are going to be talking about what happened in different time periods with Latino student activism and what Latino students were able to achieve. But then we're going to have, we've invited a youth organizer to help us kind of think about what are the current issues that Latino students are facing, that Latino communities are facing, and what can UIC students and faculty and staff do about them? How can we organize and strategize about those issues? So hopefully there will be also people in this room who are organizing today who can share their ideas and their strategies with us. And now I want to introduce our speakers. As I said, I'm going to introduce the speakers for the first half, and then I'll come back and introduce sort of our final speaker who will facilitate the discussion. So our first speaker is going to be, starting from to my far right, is Mark Zimmerman, who's a professor emeritus of Latin American and Latino Studies program here at UIC. So we overlapped. When I came to UIC in '96, Mark was here, and we overlapped for a few years, and then he left to University of Houston and became chair of the department over there at University of Houston. But he could not stay away from Chicago, so once he retired from there, he came back to Houston. I totally understand. I grew up in Houston, so I support your return. And then right here immediately to the left of Mark is Jose Luis Lopez, who is a UIC alumnus, and he's also a high school teacher at Back of the Yards, and he'll be talking to us about some of the events in the 80s. And then to his left immediate is Teresa Cordova, who is director and professor at the Great Cities Institute today, but also used to be in the 80s a faculty member of Latin American and Latino Studies, and then she left and then and moved into different things, and then came in academia, and then came back to Chicago, to UIC, once more to be with us. Thank you for coming, Teresa. And to her left is Mauricio Roman, who I definitely met as a student here at UIC and is now an alumnus. You see, you can graduate, it does happen. And he was a student organizer the whole time he was here. He was very busy, and he'll talk a little bit about the work he's doing there. And he's also a board president of the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization. So welcome to the board meeting.
I see so many young faces, and I'm going to be talking about things that happened a long time ago. It seems now. In October of 1980, I was hired to serve as coordinator of the Sinfonities Cultural Center, which placed me in direct contact with many Latino students and the student organizations on campus. I know it seems strange that I got this job, but I was voted in by students as well as Latin American Studies faculty, and I felt humbled and honored by their decision and swore I'd do my best for the program and the students. My mandate was to build the program, bring in a new generation of students, and link the students in a growing cultural program with Latino and Latin American related programs and groups throughout the city. At the time of my coming, there were 3 student groups that had battled to establish LALS and the center in the 1970s. They represented significant numbers of campus students and had seats on the Cultural Center's board. First, there was the Unión de Estudiantes Mexicanos Chicanos, a group that had direct ties with CASA in Pilsen and would go on to work with those around Rudy Lozano that would come forward in the next few years as part of a new wave of what they called independent Latino leaders. So that was the first group. The second group, and the only one I think that still survives to this day in its present form, it was the Unión de Puerto Rican Students, UPRS. A group representing Puerto Rican nationalism and very close to a movement in the city, which we associate usually with Oscar and of course Jose Lopez in the Humboldt Park area. The third group, CLAS, the Confederation of Latin American Students, was mainly Mexicano, but reached out to Latinos and Latin Americans who were interested in forming a group with a progressive but open agenda. A fourth group represented Latino employees on campus, including many students. Latin American Studies also had a representative. Within a short period of time, I came to realize that the 2 Mexican groups were growing thin in their ranks because many of their members had already graduated, and many of the current students were working on community coalitions and in function of a community agenda. Only the UPRS was holding its own on campus, it seemed at that time. CLAS was mainly working through its tutoring program, which was very important in those days. Pretty early in the game, we were served notice by the university that the center was seen as only serving members of the established groups, which were seen as too radical, we were told by many students. You're only representing a minority of Latino students, and those students are discouraging others from developing or joining in the center's activities. If this situation continues, the center will be defunded and closed. That was the word we got. At this point, some of us still had the last days of Salvador Allende in mind. If you remember, Salvador Allende was the elected president of Chile, and a U.S. CIA-sponsored coup pushed him out of office. In fact, he was faced with incoming military and died behind a machine gun. He was always so well dressed that you just see him in his tie, rolling in shirt, rolling up his jacket, rolling up his sleeves to fight. And this image came to mind at this moment when we were threatened with the demise of the center. And I, for one, imagined us pushed into the corner of our new little office space, a little side office within the existing center, waiting with submachine guns, ready to resist and die as the administrator's henchmen tried to uproot us from lecture center B2. That was sort of my image at that time. It never came to that. But a struggle emerged among those students who wanted to maintain the straight-line militant character of the center and were ready to battle against anyone who sought to change or close it, and those who thought it was important to develop a more open and diversified program with more emphasis on culture and less on politics, that would welcome many students with differing views, but whose presence and participation would assure the center's existence and provide the basis for new political cadres that might emerge over time. That was the way it was set forth. It was the second group, and it was primarily members of CLAS, led by Miguel Acosta, Jeanette Tamayo, Rogelio Solis, and others, that won out in the struggle, won many new students to their ranks, and helped launch a series of cultural projects and programs that indeed opened the doors of the center to many new students, some of whom not only participated in, but actually organized student events. Pretty soon, a new supposedly apolitical social group, La Unidad Latina, began to form and so did new career groups, spurred on by the Lattice program, by using the center as a space for their meetings and activities. The Palestinian student group, one of the African American groups, and other student groups were welcome to use the center also, and it soon became a space buzzing with activity of people with varying perspectives but all ready to defend and develop the center. Early in the game, a group of students decided to continue the literary journal Echoes that had been developed by the previous coordinator, Chilean by the name of Jorge Gilbert, who was really the coordinator of the center in 1979. With the help, and he had some support from the Spanish department in this literary project. Only now the publication was given a new subtitle, A Latino Journal of People's Culture and Literature. So it came to include African American as well as Central American, Chicano, and other dimensions. It was a student-run publication. The first student editor was Ralph Cintron, who's now a faculty member here. And then came Carlos Cumpian, who's still an active Chicano poet in the city, who was working on his English BA at the time. And the journal published student writing. It also published a lot of the young writers, some of whom have become very well known today, among them Sandra Cisneros. As proud as students were with the quality of the revamped publication, they were even happier with the newspaper they developed, La Opinión Latina, which brought Latino issues to the fore and served as a means of communication and debate for growing numbers. Students also decided that in addition to all the events that we could muster during each school year, it would be really important to hold a large-scale Cinco de Mayo event with programming to service students in high schools and alternative schools throughout the city. So our youth Cinco de Mayo developed, bringing major cultural venues to our campus, involving weeks of organizing and development. In this period, class grew, and the Puerto Rican Student Union grew. The new student groups grew as well. And some of the students who were in Unidad Latina started getting involved in some political things as well. So I think it really worked in terms of providing a broader base for the center and help, I think, get over its perhaps too narrow base from the beginning. Some of the Unión de Estudiantes Mexicanos Chicanos began to fade away almost completely as its members graduated and others dropped out to take up positions in relation to the developing Latino movement that would bring Harold Washington to be mayor of the city and bring figures like Rudy Lozano and Luis Gutierrez to the core. Meanwhile, by 1985, students learned of my intention to leave my coordinating position and to do so and to place the responsibility in the hands of a student coordinator who had already begun to develop new major projects, the most important being a new mural for the center. That student leader was Jose Luis Lopez, who along with Teresa Cordova, I guess, can tell us about the mid to late 80s and beyond. In closing, I would like to note that the first day I entered the center, I saw a picture of Che Guevara made up of computer dots on the side of the front wall of the center. I soon realized that some students revered the image and others had no idea of who was being portrayed. Once I realized that, I saw that our goal had to be to keep that romantic hero of struggle alive, even at a time of high-tech emphasis, that the center had to become different things for each generation of students, or the image of Che would no longer have any significance. That image on that computer page has probably been lost, but I believe it still lives in each successive wave of students committed to their community on and off campus. That's what I have to do.
Well, my name is Jose Luis Lopez. I was a student here from 1982 to 1986. I was the coordinator of the Cultural Center from 86 to 91. Actually, I was coordinator until 1990, and then I became director for 1 year. So I left being a director of the Cultural Center. I was listening to Mark, and one of the things that was constant in my mind, it was this constant struggle for all the areas to justify why Lattice should exist, why the Cultural Center should exist, which to me didn't make any sense. There was always a struggle to keep what it has been won by students. And that was 80s. That was one constant. The other one, someone mentioned you can actually graduate from here. Well, yeah, but that was one of the reasons why I started organizing. I guess things haven't changed that much. I was a student, I met Mark, I came to the Cultural Center a couple of times. But then on my second year, we and other Latino students, we were noticing something. We used to be in quarters in university, not very fast, 10 weeks, right? You didn't get it right at the beginning, probably will fail or drop out, have a choice. So it was very intense. It was the same old university. And the bureaucracy was very sensitive to the student needs. So it was a very hard time to graduate. And one thing that we started noticing is that you met a friend, a Latino guy, a Latino girl, next quarter it was gone. I mean, like flies. And everybody was, like GPAs were, I won't even say. So we thought that maybe we needed to create some support, right? We were having the same problems, we were having the same issues, we were Latinos, we couldn't figure out how to be successful. So we decided to create an organization, and we were working on it. Salvador Sena was one of the students I was talking to, Alberto Rangel. We started the organization, and then we met Miguel Acosta, which he was in class, the Confederation of Latin American Students. And he said, hey, there are not that many people in this organization, why don't you just take over class? And we thought, oh, what's the deal? What are the games? Well, class was able to get some money from the chancellor to run their own tutoring program. It was run by students. They have an office in CCC. They have actual money. They actually pay students for tutoring other Latino students or anybody. So we say yes. We went around campus, we started recruiting people, and after a couple of weeks, we ended up with 100, 120 students. And that's how we kind of started. I myself started being part of the Cultural Center. After that, we organized every week. There were events, the Cultural Center events, the Latino students. It was very intense, like 10 years. Latin American Studies Department would have events. So there are so many in 10 years that we have for me to explain them all in 5 minutes. So I'm a witness, and I've seen a lot of things happening. And at the end, by 1990, every year we had to present a budget for the Cultural Center. And we always added a little thing that we wanted to have access to the basement. We wanted to have a larger Cultural Center. And it was like a wish list. We always added to the budget and say, oh, it would be nice if we could have access to the basement. And it would cost so much money. And we would change it every year, kind of move it around. Well, it would be nice to have another room for projections or whatever. By the end, around 1989, I ended up with a very good student board. Silvia Villa was there. There were some students from John Betancourt, Patricia Navia, which was a good student, a teacher, a professor, right? And together, we finally came up with a proposal that the administration accepted. And they decided to renovate the Cultural Center to where it is now. Unfortunately, they had to destroy the murals that I coordinated as a student and as a member of class, which are the murals you have seen, which I could elaborate later. But that's more or less a 5 minutes kind of panoramic.
I overlapped with Jose. I was here in '86 and I left in '91. And I came to Chicago at a very wonderful time. I arrived just in time for the Chicago Bears to win the Super Bowl for the 1986 season.
That's a great memory.
One of the great memory. One of the oldest winners in Chicago history. Prepared me for coming back. And also, it was a time during the redistricting elections when we were trying to shift the balance of power from the Verdoli Act 29. And so it was a time when Jesus Chuy Garcia was running for alderman down in the 26th Street, 27th Ward, and then district as Angelo Park, West Town, which is where I lived when I first moved here. So it was a great time to be here, and I had come from Berkeley just prior to coming here, and was very involved there in lots of things. In fact, I was an anti-apartheid demonstration on disinvestment issues, University of California, and when I was told about this position and encouraged to call folks here and apply. But I was very involved also in the city of Albuquerque. We had a black mayor there, and I was used to, with the work I was doing in Berkeley, Black Latino coalitions, which is one of the things that really drew me to Chicago. So when I got here, one of the very first events that I participated in was speaking on a forum that was held at the Cultural Center, and I think it may have even been sponsored by class. I don't remember who all, but a number of people there. And I spoke on Black Latino relations. So that was really an important part of the kind of work I think that was going on. There was a lot of coalition work, so I feel like it was right in line with the kinds of things that are important to me. The first class that I taught was Introduction to the Barrio, which to this day remains one of my favorite classes ever. And they also had me teaching Latinos in Chicago. And I remember saying to Picasa, I'm coming from California, what do I know about Latinos in Chicago? And what I do know, Chicagoans don't like people from California to tell them about what's going on in Chicago. I said, don't worry, the students will tell you, the students will educate you. So, which fit with me, right? That worked for me, right? So I immediately developed really close relationships with the students. And what I found was that they were really hungry for a Latino studies component to the Latin American studies program. And they just really were really interested in how they could make connections between their lives in the university and the world outside. So it was really exciting. And so there was a lot of them who took many courses from me. It was really very wonderful. And so there was a really nice coalition and cross-fertilization that occurred between Latin American studies, between what I was doing, I think Latin American studies, between Jose Shop over in the Cultural Center and the students that were there, many students were there, and then the LADES program. And LADES had really, by the time I got here, they had really become a model program in recruitment and retention. You guys have mentioned Miguel Acosta, who was key to LADES, as was Leonard Ramirez. And they had a really wonderful case management approach. They had a lot of innovative programs, and they really did the work of recruitment, but especially did the work, I think, of retention, carrying on that important work that you were talking about today. But the work that we did sort of in coalition was really wonderful. And that included a number of things, one of which was the formation of the Latinos, what was it called, the Committee on the Status of Latinos. That was something that we started right about that time, so maybe 87 or so. And then we also started, we went to the Chancellor and also started the Chancellor's Committee on the Status of Latinos. And that is a committee that remains today, because during that same time there was the Chancellor's Committee on the Status of Blacks, Chancellor's Committee on the Status of Women. That was something that we started back then. And though that was primarily staff, students, staff and faculty, there was faculty who were even from the medical side. I remember people like Jorge Girote was involved in that. People like Juan Guerra, whose photos you've seen, was also very key to that. Okay, I put my stopwatch on so I wouldn't go on and on. I kind of relate to you too. There's so much that we can say, and my 5 minutes are fast approaching. So let me just add a couple more highlights. So the other thing that I did is I connected with the had been very active with an interface of the Inter-University Program for Latino Research, which is now which is at UIC. Nana Torres, who's the former director of Latin American Studies, Latino Studies, she is the executive director of that national consortium. But one of the things they did back then is they hosted student leadership programs. So something called the Hispanic Leadership Opportunity Program is something that we hosted here, and it gave students an opportunity to participate in leadership. And the way we structured that was to make it open to other students than just those who were official members of the program. Another course that I taught when I was here was Political Economy of Urban Development, and it was a very complex course, but I taught it to undergraduates. Now my goal there was to be able to introduce to them theory, high-level theory, and teach it to them in a way that they could understand it. And that's a course that I continue to teach up until the time that I came here. So I ended up starting that course here and taught it for over a period of about 30 years. But there's another course that I taught while I was here, which is Latinos and Social Movements. And one of the years that I taught that, with the students, we organized a forum for student activists from the 70s to come back. And so a lot of the photos that you see up there, including some that include me when I was 5 months pregnant with my son, were from that day when we brought back a number of activists, Puerto Rican, Chicano, Mexicano, other Latino students back to campus, and for them to talk about what their experience has been and the ways in which they organized. And we held that at the Cultural Center, and you can see, looking at it, how many of the murals, of the older murals, right, and how beautiful those murals were. I won't spend any more time telling you about some of the stuff that I did, including organizing the Midwest Network of Latino Researchers. At one point, I could have told you every single Latino researcher in the Midwest, and we hosted them here, and out of that was formed the Midwest Consortium for Latino Research. So there's a lot of ways in which we established legacies, right? And we organized to bring people together. I mean, that's really the essence of the organizing, right? Is you organize to bring people together to do something really valuable to advance your interests, right? But what I think was really important about my time in Latin American Studies, which is what was back then, Latino American Studies. And by the way, I was the first Latina in that program also, and I think it was quite a while after I left before there was another one, maybe 96. So from 72 until 96, we only had one Latina in the program, but that has certainly changed, and Amalia and many others now are faculty members, but I think we shouldn't overlook that fact. Well, one of the things that was very important, I think, that characterizes my time here, that I think really is what is the essence of why Latin American Studies was created and why its value continues to persist, because of that connection between university and community. Right? Our presence in the university is very, very different, has a very different purpose, right? We're there to get an education so we can take that education back and serve our communities. So the ways in which that we can make those connections, right, continue to be really important. And that was going to be my final word, but then I just got a glance at Jose Gonzalez, excuse me, and it reminded me of the FOCO conference that we organized. This was a FOCO of the National Association of Chicano Studies. And we had a huge, huge conference here in the Midwest, brought together all kinds of folks, students, faculty, and staff. And one of the things that Jose's participation brought to that was the involvement of artists. So we had Dale Gas, I don't know if you remember, Jose was one of the themes that we had of the artist contest. Well, there's obviously a lot of very rich and wonderful things that have happened over the years, and I'm very honored and glad to have been part of it, and I'm very glad to be back to serve you in any way that I can. Thank you.
I'm not in that period of like 2005 to 2009. I was part of Mexican Students that plan. And the mission of Mexican Students Plan is to bring awareness of issues affecting Latinos at UIC and in the community. We did a lot of solidarity work with La Otra Campaña, Los Atenco. We also brought community issues like from Pilsen, the gentrification of the village, the struggle to close down the power plants. And we did this through Escucha Milito, the conference that Mesa did annually. We also brought, we did a lot of solidarity work with the Black Student Union. UPRS was one of our, was like our sister organization, because we organized Noche de Poetas once a month. And in there we also brought issues. And one thing, and I bring UPRS because they were like the only ones that were willing to come to our events, and they were the only students that we would interact most. Unfortunately, when we came to the Greeks at the time, they only wanted to organize when it came to like either Latino Fest and again trying to put an event for Escuchamilito. We always heard we always saw that we had a presentation that it was facilitated from. Can I remember the name of the professor right now? I was trying to, but it was about Latinos in UIC and how it hasn't changed the enrollment rate in the last decade. So we started to question that, and then through the grapevine, through UPRS, one of their alumni, Ruben Feliciano, who at the time was working at the Latino Policy Forum, kind of got a hint of that too, and it started us. We started to work with him to do the Latino, an event on 2008 that corresponded to the status of Latinos at UIC, which mainly questioned the policies and the budget cuts that Lattice was facing at the time, and how Latino students were not, the enrollment was not going up, and how the graduation rate was going up. And also we were questioning why students from high schools like Farragut, Clemente, Benito Juarez, and Wells were not seeing great numbers for them. We only saw great numbers from Lane Tech, Walter Payton, and Winnie Young. So we started, UPRS and us, we started asking questions, and with the help of Ruben Feliciano, we were able to get a hold of Cinta Soto, who started working with us to put this event together. So it was a great event. We also we started the event also served dual purpose. It was just not the student enrollment. It was how many Latino faculty were at UIC, Latino staff that were just enrolled. It was low, and I don't know the numbers right now, but I think we did a great change.
So now what I want to do is Mark had asked me to talk briefly about the 90s because maybe you saw a little gap in the 90s. And, I just want to in 2 minutes just say that the 90s were a fascinating time for a number of reasons. One of the reasons was there were difficult times because the university was gentrifying the South Campus. And Latino students and faculty were struggling against that, but we were not very successful. So everything you see now that's University Village, we struggled to have affordable housing there. It didn't happen. And by affordable, I mean something professors could afford. It didn't happen. You don't have any even faculty or staff living near campus because all that area is very expensive, and then all that area was sort of the linkage to Filson and Maxwell Street, and we struggled against that. Okay, and we were very aware, and it put us in a very difficult position to be working for UIC and also seeing UIC do this. And that was a very important moment. Also, I wanted to say that I came into the transition where there had been a history of sort of Mexican and Puerto Rican organizations, but I would say that I came into a moment of real coming together of what Mauricio was describing, that they were working with the Puerto Rican students when he came and they were doing the Noche de Poetas. I witnessed the incredible talents of one leader, Mesa Sofia Mohammed, who was half Pakistani, half Mexican, and who did tremendous efforts to make sure that nationalism didn't get in the way of working across bridges. And in other events, we've talked about the connections between what's going on campus and what's going on in the city. And so by 2000, 2001, the same things are happening in the city. The whole Amnesty Vieques movement was the coming together of the Puerto Rican and Chicago communities for two important causes. I think was also a reflection of that moment where Puerto Ricans and Mexicans are coming together. And so that was, to me, a very interesting period and a very important period. So I want to now transition to the next part, which I think is going to be so exciting. And it's just a kind of conversation, a discussion about what's going on now, what are the issues, and we can talk about in relationship to what's happened, but also what are the issues today. And I know there are some student organizers in the room we invited student organizers to be here and talk about what your issues are today, and what are the strategies, what are we facing today, as we continue different struggles. I want to invite up to the podium the person who's going to talk a little bit about the late 2009 and onwards at UIC, because she's studying here at UIC, Reina Wences. And Reina is also a founding member of the Immigrant Youth Justice League and also organized Communities Against Deportation. So at this moment where immigrant issues become really important in the country and therefore on campus as well. And so Reina will talk a little bit about that period to put us up to date on, and then she's going to facilitate this discussion where we kind of really want it to be coming together in a conversation and learning from each other. So thank you, Reina.
Me llamo Reina Wences. My name is Reina Wences. I was an undocumented person here in the United States for 14 years up until, let's say, about a year ago when my status changed. So now I'm kind of like in this transition mode. But yeah, I want to talk about what happened in 2009 when I graduated from Walter Reed College Prep. So I was a undocumented student growing up in a little village. Went to Joseph E. Gary. Knew that I didn't have papers, but didn't really think about it until I'm sitting in my high school classroom and they're asking me for my social security number and kind of like asking me, what are you gonna do? Like, where are you gonna go to college? And so then that's when really like a lot of things started becoming critical, such as information around universities that accept undocumented students, the resources out there. A lot of my friends were applying to schools out of state, and I was thinking more local, what's going to be cheaper, can a school give me money if I don't have papers? So it was a lot of questions that I had. Luckily though, I was also involved in Pilsen at Radio Arte, which was a really great community space at the time, and actually someone from here was there too. That's where I met them. And I was doing the journalism and broadcasting program there. So I really got introduced to audio, and I think it really, that space helped me shape a lot of my views. That's one space where I met Daniel Sueta, who is a fellow organizer too, a co-founder of the Immigrant Youth Justice League. And I also started meeting more undocumented people, right? Maybe we weren't so open about it then, but we were sharing stories and we were starting seeing similarities. So I think by this time we find out that Rigo Padilla, who was also a student here, comes out about being in deportation proceedings, and also comes out about the fact that he was looking for support from organizations, but that wasn't really working out for him. So a couple of students from UIC and also Harold Washington started getting together after Homo Frecuencia on Mondays at Radio Arte, and would meet in this little room and kind of like try to figure out if we could do something to organize a campaign for Rigo. And those were really difficult conversations, because we're talking about a time that maybe undocumented people weren't as open, weren't as public, right? And especially given the case that he had, it was becoming difficult to gather support. But regardless, we saw an opportunity to kind of not only make connections around immigration reform that politicians were also talking about that at the time, but we were also trying to make connections to the fact that this was a student, right? That like this was a student that had been here for 6 years, since he was 6 years old, had been living in the neighborhood, that went to Harold Washington, was trying to go out and get his degree and be a student. And now he was going to get deported. And so to me, that was like, that could be me, that could be other people that I know that are undocumented. And so I think that a lot of us just felt that urgency of like, whoa, like it could be any of us. And we started organizing. I remember in 2009, I was taking classes here, and I was going to other classes and speaking and sharing my story, telling people that I was undocumented. And so that's basically how we started getting a little bit of support. I would go to classes, a sign-in sheet, collect signatures, and then would go home at the end of the day and start entering the signatures on the computer for the online petition, which is also something that that it's new, right? Like online organizing, I think has really changed the way that people organize and communicate and like go out for events and all of that. And so it was my introduction to organizing in that sense, using Facebook, using Twitter, all that stuff. And so then Rigo's campaign starts picking up. We really, UIC students were really at the forefront of going out into the community, Little Village and Pilsen and other community organizations and sharing their experiences, their stories, and gathering support for Rigo. And so that culminated at the end of the 2009, I think it was December something, we got a call that his deportation had been deferred, and so he gets to stay here in the United States. And so out of that though, what really, I think that one of the reasons why a lot of us continue to come into the space, and the reason why we organized an event here at the Hull House one time in October, was because we were starting to see all these similarities about the lack of information and resources to undocumented students, right? Out of this event that we call the Shout It Out, a lot of undocumented students and allies from UIC came and shared their stories and their experiences. As a person that kind of struggles with the financial aspect of funding my studies because of my status, and at the same time, I also see a really great place for students to continue organizing here. There's been a lot of events and a lot here at the Hall House and at the Latino Cultural Center centered around immigration and immigration reform. And what I really have enjoyed about UIC is that it has provided spaces for these conversations to start, right? Like, if it hadn't been also for the faculty at the LALS department to be there and encourage us and also set the groundwork with the books that they write and the research that they do, I think that I would feel really lost right now. But it was that encouragement too, and those spaces that were created very intentionally, like this one, that kind of gave me a little bit of push to like continue organizing. Because then you see people like the people that are sitting right here, and you're like, well, what I'm thinking is, I want to be that old and say, 40 years from now, come back to UIC and tell them, yeah, I was here 40 years ago, and there were great people there, and they shared, and it's just like we have to be part of that history, because we are being part of that history. Those statistics, those numbers keep changing, but it's you that are now here, and it's going to be up to us to change those graduation rates for Latino students. It's going to be up to us to change the resources. My brother is a high school student right now, about to graduate, and I'm thinking like he's gonna come to UIC, and I'm almost feeling like I should be organizing more, because I still talk to students that are here at UIC, and there's still the same struggles that maybe happen. There are similar struggles, but they're not the same. They're very similar struggles in different contexts, and I think that we should have those conversations, like what are the needs of Latino students now? What coalitions can we build? And how can we move forward? And have timelines for that too. Because we can sit here and talk about it and think about and ponder about all the great things that have happened in the last 40 years of the LALS, but where do we want to see the LALS program in 40 years? So that's what I got. I think this is where I start the collaboration. I just want to start this conversation by asking you all, what are some of the lessons that we can learn from what was shared here today, by the people here at the table, similarities, maybe things that we want answered. Anyone would like to start? What year started?
Latino Graduate Student Association. I'm the co-chair. My name is Isaac. Hello, everybody. I would like to know, since I'm a master's student, I'm gonna be here just for 2 years. One of my major concerns for the organization is how do we get students who are really interested into working out the legacy over here. I'm gonna be here for 8 months more, so I need to know how do you find, or how did you find these students that have this inherent interest, or you just work on that interest?
Right. I think part of it is you have to be. The nice thing about class is that we have 4 committees, and it was an educational committee, a cultural committee, an academic committee, and a social committee. So what you do is you actually do. You go and do events, right? And then it's like sending a message. Hey, this is the type of event. We are looking for this type of students. And people come in. Some, are not very successful. Sometimes you get 4 or 5 because of the event. In other ones, you have 1,000. So you have to actually move, create events, and you start, people start coming to it. And then when they bring ideas, they bring concerns, they bring context, and then you make links. And little by little, the whole thing start moving in the direction that it should move. So it's very organic, it's very natural, and it's the best way, at least for me.
But I could speak a little bit about, like for the Greeks and the other non-political organizations. I found that, they didn't want to hear about Otra Campaña in Mexico. They didn't want to hear about like gentrification in Pilsen, but they were open. I remember when I was here, they were like the only thing that it will bring them together was the Latino Fest. I don't know if that still goes around. And then I remember that I was involved in 2 Latino Fest, and I was involved there because I was able to. I was the one because Escucha Mirito. I had the ear of Leonard, and then who's who sponsor stuff. So and when it came to organize for the status of the Latinos, it was easy because they didn't want to hear about. They were interested about keeping Lares open because that was like the only thing that they were interested in. So I kind of lashed into that. So I kept, that was their interest. I remember that I was able to go to meetings with the president of Betas and Ganas and G5, I think that was the name. So that was just grab on interest. And also what it helps is to sponsor events. I remember we sponsor a lot of events with SHIP, Labs, like I said again, with UPRS.
Well, just really quickly, I think one of the first things is get your degree. Be successful in school. I think it's one of the first things. And I think one of the nice things about being educated at a university is understanding context. Not only understanding history, but understanding current context. Understanding what's going on in the context of the political economy, for example. Why are we facing the conditions we're facing right now? Trying to understand the reasons why there's inequality, for example. Right? And then to think about what are the aspects of the subject matter that you're learning that you can bring to bear as solutions to address that. So if you were getting a master's degree in public health, for example, how would you connect that to the needs of your community? If you're getting whatever master's it may be, maybe it's even a master's in history, right? How do you still make those connections? So I think there's still something to be said for an education that brings a kind of understanding and enlightenment, if you will, right? And a critical consciousness and a critical thinking. And then the other thing, you said you kind of want to look back and say, what was my legacy, right? Sometimes it can just be one thing. A lot of, like let's say the stuff that in the 70s, for example. There was a context there when there was activism on university campuses all over the country. that was a period when you saw, when you had Chicano studies departments being created throughout the Southwest, right, late 60s, early 70s. So there was that kind of national context for those kinds of things to be occurring. When I was here in the 80s, it was a different context. There was, Latino for the first man against the electoral law. In the 90s, it was a different context. There was the neighborhood thing. So what's going on right now that you might do? But there's, but at the same time, bringing some idea. I mean, something very simple. Like when I was in Berkeley, one of the things that they had in Berkeley was a Latino studies there, the Chicano studies graduation. I brought that idea here. Right, and I told the guys from folks from Lattes and the community on status of Latinos, we started a Latino studies graduation, a Latino graduation. Right, nobody there really thinks about what the origin of that was, but the first bit, I brought that idea in. Right? And then when we went to New Mexico, I took the idea to New Mexico, and now there's one over there too. Right, and it doesn't matter necessarily, to sort of say, oh, well, that came from such and such a place. What matters is that's an important event, right? That where the ideas spread and the ideas were shared. So what might be that one thing, right, that you can bring, right? What might be that one thing that's needed in your department? Or what might be that one thing even as you build relations with your cohort, that you can lead and you can institutionalize. So those are just some.
So I have two questions. One, in the time in the 80s and the 90s, how did you guys navigate with Latino identity? And I say that because even though we're celebrating that we're 26% Latinos right on campus, there's a certain type of Latino that's entering our doors too, right? And so that certain type of Latino is a student that might be removed from cultural issues, from Latino political issues, from, which is not their fault, right? But if they're removed 2-3 generation Latino here in the United States, or there's this apathy, or there's this whole of like, I need to assimilate and I don't care about my Latino culture, right? So that's the type of student that we're also experiencing on campus, right? But I want to see how you all navigated through that, if that was even something that came up during the 80s and 90s, and even closer now to the early 20s or 2000s. My second question is, and kind of tying it into your question a little bit, about how, and I'm even with student organizing that's been happening on campus, and even from Mauricio, right? How do we get away from the what I call the cultural what is it? Oh my gosh, what's the term I'm trying to use? That folks are always in the front lines, and they never, or not never, but sometimes we tend to not welcome the other new leadership, right? Or that we get so caught up in that movement, right, and we forget that there's other leadership coming behind us, right? Celebrity activism is what I like to call it, right? And so how do we get away from that too, right? Because I think sometimes we get so caught up in it and forget that other students want to be involved, right? But I think that goes into even with Mesa, right? There was a period in Mesa where not much movement was happening after like Mauricio's generation left, right? And we were all kind of looking like, what happened, right? No, it's not even to your guys, right? But it's like, what happens, right? So not only was that happening, but then I feel that identity was changing on campus. And I feel like some of the students, even now that we advise them a lot, is like there is this hunger for political knowledge, right? The fact that students are not talking about neoliberalism, right, is huge, right? So all of that, how does all that tie in and kind of in your experience? I know it's a lot, so sorry.
If I may, that's an incredible couple of questions you've asked. They're so complex and take us in so many different directions. I think some of the things that I've heard, and I heard Greeks, that there's fraternities now, like sororities too, perhaps, and that's maybe a different kettle of fish, a different sector of the Latino population, which is not doing what some of you seem to have been really involved in, some serious core issues. And I know these differences existed certainly in the 80s between those who were very politicized and had a very specific agenda, and they were afraid of allowing other voices to come in. I think they were afraid because they thought that what they were trying to do was going to get diluted or sent and diverted. And they were very much into the question of Latino identity. And there were certain core texts. I taught cultural studies kinds of classes. People read I Am Joaquin in those days, and they read these texts, a lot of them were in poetry, which attempted to develop the concept of a Chicano identity, a Latino identity, and so on. There are all these different aspects of that. But I think one of the lessons from the 80s is that you cannot assume that those people who don't seem to be interested in these issues and so on will always not be interested. That they won't, just by going to this campus, if they lived in the suburbs, coming into the city and experiencing the kinds of discrimination that every Latino eventually experiences in Chicago in one way or another, that helps to transform identity. And so if you write them off from the beginning, oh, they're just not interested in what we're doing, that's not going to work. Somehow you've got to find the points of commonality, and frequently it might be at a dance, or it might be at some particularly social, innocuous event that suddenly something happens which raises the issue and brings at least some of those people to become part of what becomes a larger thing. And we always have to have some faith that the issues that we have before us are so there, so much there, they're so real and important to us, and they're important in general, that anybody who comes in contact with us over time will have be influenced by them, just as we will also be influenced by the dance movement than we did before. But we also are in some kind of interaction, and that's known as creating community and connection. And that's, I think, what has been happening ever since, I guess, Proposition 187 was it in California? When it seems to me that the backlash against Latinos began in earnest in this country. A new wave of that after all the struggles that had come before. And I've sensed around the country that there's been each effort on the question of deportation, on denying Chicano or Latino studies in the schools, putting books out of the library and so on. All these things, crazy things that have been happening in Arizona and other places, have created a new kind of renaissance. And more people will find themselves getting involved in it. You don't have to be undocumented to feel solidarity with somebody who's undocumented. And so there's a way in which, as a movement develops, other people who you would not even think of getting involved will suddenly be there. And things can happen and develop.
I just want to add something. First I want to say my students read I Am Joaquin this semester. So I'm just going to say people are still reading it, Introduction to Latino Studies. But what they also read in contrast to I Am Joaquin is they read Teddy Moraga, My Brother's Sex is White, Mine is Brown. And so the interesting thing about that is there's a real difference and debate there that you can create around that, right? And so some students may not be really interested in the Chicano nationalist thing, but the issues of sexuality and gender may really grab them. And another example from my class is there are a lot of videos we're showing of groups that my class wasn't aware of before, like Calle 13, Ana Tijoux, and the way in which music can grab people. And so I had them choose sort of different group projects, and it could be a musician, it could be an athlete, or whatever they wanted to do. And these students, none of whom had heard Calle 13 until they played Latino America in my class, chose Calle 13. And the way my TA describes it, it's by the end of it, they're having this big discussion about whether, controversies around Calle 13 and whether music should be political and whether groups should be able to, engage in these political debates. And so I just want to say there's different entry points through which students who you might supposedly not seem, that political can become interested. And the last thing I want to say is I really do want to ask Reina to kind of come in here, because I think that the discussion sort of celebrity activism, I think is something that the undocumented youth have really had to deal with and have to really be conscientious of sort of who tells their story and whether they then become fetishized in a way, whether they become then the person who's always telling their story, and also questions of leadership. As there's all these demands on some of the older undocumented students, activists to train the next generation. It's, I think it's a problem with youth because it's not just university, but youth in general, because they have such mobility going on in their lives that you actually need to have that be thinking forward in order to really sustain your organizations.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a thing that also I see a lot in social media, and maybe it's magnified by social media, with this need to have a hot topic every week. But I mean, like last week, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, we were talking about Ferguson. Last week, we were talking about Ebola. Like, there's something different all the time, right? And so then when we started organizing, I think it was such almost like a hype, right? Like, oh my gosh, we've never seen undocumented people come out of the shadows and take up spaces. And oh my gosh, we've never seen undocumented people getting arrested. You know, it was all a hype, a hype, a hype. And in that, like, the danger was and continues to be, is this, that reporters and even organizations, national organizations and people continue to go to the same faces that they see on the media that are out there, right? And sometimes end up not taking into consideration or forgetting that person doesn't make an entire organization, or that person is only reflecting of their own points of view and not really the organization. So one of the things that like Amanda was mentioning too is this demand of training the next generations, right? In my case, everything in the immigration stuff in the immigration field, I guess, has been evolving and changing so fast that when I started organizing, I was organizing for the DREAM Act. Now I'm organizing against deportations, right? Like I'm taking cases and doing that. And so it's been having to, as things change and as the political spectrum is changing, like having to also change, and then it's hard to then take a pause and say, hey, let's take a pause and let's do some training. And so that's been a real great challenge, really big one. And I don't know maybe how all of you handled that in the past, but I know that like when you're a student, you're like trying to get your degree, you're working, you're organizing, and then on top of that, you wanna give back, right? So the next step would be to make sure to share that knowledge, and sometimes it seems like it's too much. So.
Can I? Well, because we came out with a system, I mean, very small, we were thinking about sufragio efectivo en una elección. So we thought the president would be served for only 1 year. So every year we have elections, you can only be president of the organization for 1 year. So that what happened is that you give a chance to someone else to take over the organization, and each president brought their own generation and their own ideas and their own change. Sometimes we didn't like it, the old people, sometimes we agreed. But the effect was that class survived for like 7 years with a very strong group of students. But it was because every president, every year, a new president, a new administration will bring their own friends and their own like refreshments or so, and there was an overlapping, and so it was a way to also keep like the legacy of the organization, and in that way it helped to, and it was, the idea came from obviously the Mexican Revolution, right? And I think I still believe it's a good idea, but you have to be able to see your kid become someone else. And it takes sometimes it's hard. And the other one was in the 80s, again, like Teresa Cordova said, you have to take into consideration the context. In the 80s, we also were fighting for immigration, which it makes you like 20 years later, we're still talking about it. And we participated in the passing of the first Immigration Act that was supposed to take care of the immigration issue, figure out. And also, the Central America was there. There was a war in El Salvador. There was the Nicaraguan Revolution. And so there was a lot of activity around Central America. And we have a lot of events with the communities in Central America. There was also a big group of South American people that have come through the dictatorship in Argentina and Chile. So there still was some activities in the city about solidarity with in the fights and the struggle of those people. There was a Puerto Rican independence movement, still people have events. So, and also the electoral process. A lot of the people that were activists in the 70s decided to join into the electoral process. And then we have people like Juan Solis, who was, trained to be the first alderman of previously. He actually was the first alderman. And then he came to the university to ask for support when he was campaigning. Jesus Garcia, Luis Gutierrez when he was campaigning the first time. You name it, they came to the cultural center of the university to ask for support from the students. Some students joined their campaigns, work in the community with them to get them elected. Some part of their groups now, right? Carl Washington came to office, the first black mayor, right? So, and also about replicating the way things happen. At one point, we had some Afro-American students coming by the cultural center. They were thinking about demanding their own center. They were, met with us, and we told them how we got the cultural center, how the people went in to cover the place. There was a coalition. There was also the white progressive students, the Afro-American students, the Latino students, and other organizations. They got together, and they asked for a meeting with the chancellor one Friday. I had to take a group of the students from the cultural center to a conference in Champaign. So I was with like 20 students in Champaign. And part of the board, Latino board, was meeting with the chancellor on Friday in UH. And then on Saturday when I come in, I received a phone call and say, hey Jose, they took over UH and demanded, with the whole coalition took over UH. Same thing happened in the 70s. They repeated at the end of the day. And in this case, it was to demand Afro-American cultural center. So people to replicate, learn, but at the same time, everybody adds and brings their context. So you cannot really say what you're supposed to do. You have to look around and respond to your own needs, and other people will come. So,
I think that's a good transition, right, to maybe talking a little bit with the people that are left in the room as to like what are some of the issues that you are involved in, whether it's at the school or in the community that needs to be here in space, or what are some of the things that need to happen, right? What are we not seeing? Just I can speak from experience. Just this Tuesday, Monday, there was a call with undocumented students that are trying to see if something can happen here locally, and there is movement in other universities around the state. Even though there is in-state tuition for undocumented youth here, there's still a lot of lack of resources and money, especially public funding. So a lot of people end up relying on the private funding, right? And so I don't know. There's policing. There's been studies around private police. I mean, I don't know how the police works here, the UIC police, right? But like, there's been instances where there's been racial profiling, and so I don't know if that's something that students experience here. But we live in Chicago, pretty segregated city, right? And if we're not talking about this or trying to make those connections, then I don't know. If it doesn't happen here, it has to happen somewhere else. So what are some of the issues that people are seeing at the school? I actually feel kind of old. Like 2009, and I'm looking around and I see really young faces. And I feel like I can't speak about UIC anymore because I haven't been around. I'm actually trying to come back next semester, so I'll see you around.
Well, in general, one of the biggest issues that I face is trying to get students involved, and that's really hard. And being Generation Y and being influenced by Generation X, you would think that this generation would be more politically involved or socially involved, but they're not. You mentioned that Greek organizations were, I guess, highly involved back then, but I don't see them as much as involved on campus. I mean, they have these mission statements, they have these purposes, but they only really come around for like a couple of events, and that's them like unifying within together. But I don't see students being consciously aware about what's going on in their community, and not just here at UIC, but outside of UIC. And so my biggest issue is just trying to get them involved and get them aware that these issues you may feel like they don't affect you directly, but they do indirectly. And so it's just trying to shake up students and get them involved.
And I think you asked them like how to get people interested, right? And some of the answers were like hosting events, making them specifically targeted to a certain audience. Some of those conversations maybe will have to happen in other spaces, but I think it's also about being creative and almost really persistent. But yeah, like this is something that whether it's at the university or in the community, like it's hard to get people involved and to continue to attend meetings and to continue to feel like they're like making changes, right?
I mean, if I could add, one thing that helped me a lot, especially with the Greeks, it was meeting with their, I don't know, they had something like outreach coordinator for their organization, and I would talk to them. Like, you know the power of sitting one-on-one? It's powerful. Actually sitting, keep going to CCC, like, having a number 2 from Wendy's, talk about the issue, that helps. I mean, I don't know if, but that did help, helped a lot. I mean, we brought over, for the status of Latinos at UIC, I think it was a good 300 students out. And I mean, you have to talk to them about like, how would this affect their organization, right? We were talking about Lattes, right? If they close Lattes down, that means that the Latino enrollment and the retention in UIC was going to drop out, right? What did that mean for the organization, right? If they didn't have incoming Latinos coming in, right? What's happened to their lines? What happened to their? I mean, at the end, if there's no Latinos at UIC, there's no Greeks. So you have to really drive that point over. I mean, and luckily some of them got it, and they were able to come out to some of the big events. But and also, like I said before, you have to also co-sponsor, right? Like Escucha Mi Grito was sponsored by some of the Greeks, UPRS, SHIP, Labs. So you have to, you also have to go to their events, right? Like, Labs at the time used to have really good resume building workshops, right? And you just go there and, you tell your student body that it's a back and forth and it's a conversation, and it's actually relationship building. It's not just, hey, come to my event or post something on Facebook because, that doesn't work. Like, you have to actually know you have to know whoever's president. I don't know what organization you represent.
A few. MESA, UPRS, OWS and CUS. So those are just the 3.
What was the third one?
OWS and CUS. It's Organization of Women Looking for Sisterhood in Corazones Unidos Siempre, or Cayo Solange. And then Union for Puerto Rican Students, of course, Mexican Students de ASLAN. But in a sense, I also represent class. And, oh my gosh, there's another one, but. I mean, and I think another solution, and what I do is, I identify myself as a leader, and what I do is challenge other leaders. As far as, it doesn't have to necessarily be a big issue, but it's like, okay, how can I challenge you to participate more in class, to come out to these events? And I think that's what really helps.
Well, I'd like to kind of comment a couple of things that you said, and even the question that you posed. First of all, it's really great to see you. First of all, you're Chicago Bears, teachers, but you just look like ready to go. And so I appreciate your activism and your leadership, and what obviously is coming across is a lot of concern and care. And the fact that you're involved in multiple organizations, it brings the potential of coalitions, all right, and coordination, sort of, and cooperation with different groups, which I think is part of my answer to your question also, right? I worked for many years during the 90s with the environmental justice networks, organizations and networks, because organizations form in networks. So it's really important to have a strong identity, whether you identify as Chicano, identify as Chicana, or whether you identify as Boricua or cualquiera, right? But then the idea is that you're forming coalitions with other people. So we form coalitions. Latino is a really powerful term as a coalition term. But then folks of color, right, that's another powerful coalition term, right? Because it doesn't mean you give up having a black identity, it just means you coalesce them with other people. So, I mean, part of the point is collective action. I mean, the part of what we do in organizing is form people together to function in a kind of collective way. So the collective action becomes a really important part of that. So there's more I can say on that, but I want to make that point. But the other kind of point I want to make, given how hard and how much struggle there was in establishing LALS, which is what happened when developed became a new term, cultural center or Gladys, there's always a lot of struggle in establishing those. So one of the things that you all could do is go to the events at the cultural center, right? And it's like if Rosa Cabrera asked, she's going to fight for the budget for the cultural center, it's a lot easier for her to fight for that budget if there are people who are going to her events, right? Same with Latin American Studies. We're on a budgeting model at UIC that is that's based on student enrollments. One of the single most important things you can do to help LALS right now is take their classes, right? And then out of those classes, all kinds of things are possible, right? And then similarly with Lattice, right? You want Lattice to be there here when you come back, utilize the resources, right, that Lattice has to offer, and support Lattice by utilizing their services. So those are at least some, minimal kinds of things, but I think those connections then lead to other possible